All right, folks, we are officially live. Welcome back, everybody, to Virtual Design Master Season 6, Episode 2. I need a little, like my little clacker card to keep track of where things are. My name is Eric Wright. Super proud to be here. Joining me again, as usual, my cohort, co-creator of Virtual Design Master, Angelo Luciani. Angelo, another day. And it's a fun topic. I'm excited about this one. So, of course, we're coming across two ways. We are on a Zoom webinar right now. Make sure you update your clients, kids. And, of course, we're also streaming live on YouTube. So if you're watching us either way, definitely we're super excited. Thanks for watching. Angelo, you ready for this one?
It's going to be a fun one, Eric. Good topic, and already really like the conversations that are happening prior to this. So really good. A lot of energy moving into this episode.
Now we've gone through. We'll kind of recap where we've come from, what the purpose of this particular webinar is. Again, we've chosen a tactic where we want to make this an educational opportunity for everybody, because Virtual Design Master is founded on the idea of doing just that. So the original team, always a part of what we've done. So, of course, myself, you can find me online. I'm at Disco Posse. Angelo, at Angelo Luciani, and Melissa, who's our creative director. She is at Venus33. She is the mind behind the zombies and the stories and the designs. Herself being a VCDX, so she has earned one of a tight-knit group of only just about 250 or 260 people in the world. And on top of that, being one, I believe, of only 3 women on Earth who actually possess that level of designation. So you can tell that we've taken an approach of education is important, and collectively doing it, as a team is super cool for us. This year, we decided, rather than the traditional show where we're actually doing the design and protect and orchestrate in that flow, we're aiming towards hackathons. We've had a ton of requests from people in the community about how they want to be able to up-level their skills, and Virtual Design Master was a way to do that. So we've chosen that a hackathon is a super important way for us to do that. And this time, because hackathons are typically geared towards developers, we wanted to open that door wider. We wanted to add inclusivity and diversity to that audience so that you can feel that as an operations staffer, an architect, that you've got the skills. You already have the skills. You just may not realize you need that kind of nudge. In the same way that we have, I can't even count, definitely at least, a handful of folks that are now VCDXs as a result of, work that they've done and people they've met through the Virtual Design Master program. Angelo, I mean, VCDXs are coming out all over the place, right? In fact, Chris Porter, Upgrade Vinyl, just most recently got his VCDX last month, right?
Yeah, that was really exciting to see. And in addition, folks even up-leveling themselves within their companies and or finding new opportunities in different companies at a higher level. So that's really exciting to see as well.
And also, the hackathon was born of the idea of doing something from an idea. And if this whole program, this whole community that we built is wrapped around that same core function. So this series, of course, we're going through, it's a 4-part webinar series that will then culminate to an actual live hackathon. So the first one was called The Idea. How do you come up with an effective idea, which will be and map it out to what will work in a hackathon or as a general product idea. These are, in fact, you could use these as startup foundation ideas. This is where this actually comes from. So that's available on demand. You can go to the short link there. Of course, if you go to the virtualdesignmaster.io, the links are there to go back to the YouTube channel. Today, we're going to talk about the team. So building an inclusive team to be able to match skills and how mentoring is a strong part of that program as you go through. Then we'll get into next week, which is the product. So the next event is how to do product management in the context of a hackathon, which again spans beyond there. And then, of course, how to prepare for the event. What are the logistics that are going to take place at a hackathon? And then we'll get into very specific things about the VDM hackathon. And that's where we've got big news today. This is something special because we have finally pinned down when we're going to do this. And this is a challenge. I mean, every year Virtual Design Master kind of puts people into an interesting spot. There's a lot of personal time that's being taken, and we commit at the same time ourselves as a team. So this year, we are very, very proud to save your date. So beginning a 24-hour period, beginning Friday, August the 9th at 9 a.m. Eastern time, and it will finish. That's so complete, including presentations, will begin at 9 a.m. Eastern on Saturday. So you think about, what does this mean? This is effectively keyboards open. We're doing pitching. We're doing everything. We're going through, and then we'll actually close with the final pitches, and then the judging will occur, and then we'll ideally, we'll try and share the judging, same time that day. But really, as we get closer, we'll work more firmly on the schedule. Here's the registration URL. Keep note of the case. So it's uppercase VDM S and R there. So you have to follow that. We will include the link in the show notes and in the YouTube notes, and of course on Twitter. Angelo, 24 hours. It's going to feel like forever, but it's going to go by fast, right?
Yeah, I think you just touched on it. It's gonna feel like it's forever. It's gonna feel like 48 hours, but once you get into the flow, you'll find that hey, you don't have enough time, if you will. So it's going to be real exciting.
And an important thing, we are not committing you to do 24 straight hours of coding or 24 straight hours of being up. There will be obviously opportunities to take breaks, to rest, or whatever. It's online from anywhere. It's a completely virtual event. So there's no requirement for travel. There's no cost. The only cost to you is commitment to your future, right? Commitment to the event and to the people that you're on the team with. So we're excited. We're super, having gone through these events myself, I know you don't have to sit there and be sleep deprived for 24 hours. That's part of the team, is we can balance off each other, right? And again, the goal of this is to be ops oriented, to be able to bring folks that may not feel that they have the coding skills or that they've got an idea to bring. You can be a part of a team, and if not, you can join our team. We will have team VDM, so we will have a core team. And in fact, I'm going to cheat. I may pull Angelo in to do my marketing and development with me and my UI testing. We may have Melissa help us out on some ideas. Like we're going to bring a team together. So either way, if you want to join us or you want to create your own group. So we're going to teach you today on what building a team means. And in fact, this is something you should do this every day if you think about the team that you have at work. Oops, sorry, back there. And again, we've talked about the idea. So this is the second stage. Of course, anything we do as an online community or as a community in general at large, like this is a lot of small print, and I hate to do this, but this is really the core of the code of conduct. I won't use the phrasing that the fame, is Will Wheaton, or whatever is, he was the actor who played Will Wheaton. It's be a good person, right? That's really more like Bill and Ted. Be excellent to each other. So we do have to abide by, the strictness of a code of conduct. We have a responsibility to each other to make sure that we do well. We promote inclusivity of every kind. So, if anybody's got any questions about why that's important and how to help and grow bigger communities that way, then do reach out to all of us. So here we are. We're going to build a team.
And remember to have fun. Right.
That's what it is. We're not trying to lay down the rules. We have as few rules as humanly possible for this. It's a freedom event. It's meant to just be enjoyable. Yeah. So, yeah. Now, when I talk about this, I call it the art of the build. And we do this because this is going to highlight something, right? So you have a design phase or design part of the team. So you're sketching your idea. How do you write out what the UI, the UX, what's the feel going to be as a consumer or a customer of this product? How do you plan it? So what do we have to do? What are the bits that have to go together? What's required? Building the product, actually writing code, setting up infrastructure, doing what you need to do. And then how do you market that idea, right? It's not just about building the product, but how do you sell the value of it tell the story of how people want to use it and excite people about how to do it. Apple doesn't do their keynote presentation saying, here's the iPhone 6. The iPhone 6 contains an ARM processor. It's very exciting. It's very fast. It's faster than our previous one. Anyways, move on to the next one. Like, no, they tell you about, this is the most fundamental and incredible product. They fire you up. So be fired up. You're creating a product from nothing with a team of people you may never work with before. That's awesome. So why this is important, look at those 4 areas. Those are 4 completely different parts of the human brain that are involved in doing these things, right? There's the organizer, there's the creative, there's the marketer, the storyteller, there's the builder, there's the planner. Yeah, so this is why a team is fundamentally important to the success of a hackathon or any product, because you do not generally possess the skills to do all of these things successfully in a compressed time frame. So this is an important thing to think about as we look at what makes up a successful team. And those teams have skills, but they follow tenets, right? Has to be strong communication, focus on transparency. So make sure share everything, right? What can you do? What can't you do? Make sure that we recognize our limits and our capabilities. Diversity across every aspect. Diversity of background, diversity of skill set, diversity of experience, cultural diversity, everything. Whatever, those mixes create successful teams. And then ultimately it's a commitment to the vision. So when you as a group agree that you're going to build a product that needs to service a need and meet a customer requirement or solve a problem that you've got, then everything you do should be in service of that goal. And
yeah.
Angelo, you're such an avid reader, and you've gone through and you've shared so much stuff with me on what it means. And in fact, your leadership in the VMware user group, which is how we had first been introduced, and through other community events that you've created, the Nutanix user groups, and just general community at these events. You've been the embodiment of this, like bringing folks in and giving them that leadership opportunity. What do you think is successful, has made you successful when you approach that leadership role?
Yeah, I think there's one aspect I want to touch on. It's really the collective intelligence of the team, the group that you put together. It's really about finding areas where you need folks to complement you, or you complement them, where some areas might be weak that you might need someone a little stronger in that particular area or topic, and bringing all that together. And then that collective intelligence, you'll find that folks will just feed off each other, learn from one another, and you'll see that you'll actually start moving a lot quicker than if everyone had the same sort of skill set, same sort of mindset, if you will, to a certain degree. Just that difference in thought will really help accelerate your team. And we've seen it through, Eric, we've seen it through our user groups, etc. So really great to see.
And if we think about it, as you go through the functions that perform these ones is also fundamentally different, especially in a 24-hour hackathon or 4-hour hackathon or anything. It's really, really challenging because you've got to do a lot simultaneously. So parallel streams are going on. So you're building the product itself. Something goes wrong, like, oh no, how do we deal with that? Send somebody to research that, or I need a new thing. I need a product that can connect me to a Twitter API. I need to send an SMS message. Should I do it? Like, you can't have your developer chasing those problems. You can't have user experience testing being led by so there's a lot of chasing, and that's even in what we do. We're planning for the hackathon, and you and I are going through this, right?
Yeah, Eric, and you touched on it, and this is another aspect that people sometimes overlook, and a great way to get involved besides coding and all that is the project management piece. You might need someone on the team that's got solid project management experience, can connect all the dots, keep the ball moving up the field, if you will. So that's a real important aspect of it. And I think it's important to lay that out early in the process as you're building your team. You look at each other and see who has the skill set to sort of take that on.
And there's an ability to pivot and adapt throughout that. You'll learn a lot about people in a very short time, and it's amazing what you can develop and relationships that get developed as a result of it are profound because of how deeply you get involved in this product development in a very short time. And it's fun. It's just such a blast. I can't talk enough about how fun it is to be in these events. And you don't have to win. You don't have to even produce a product. Just be there. Just be on the team and observe. And that we are creating observer opportunities for folks because that's what we want. I'd rather have 20 people watching while you and I build a product than to have nobody watching. It just doesn't, there's nothing gained by us just doing stuff on our own and then continuing to furnish that as the way that we move forward. So secure, oh boy. I wish I didn't have to write this, but it's the truth of the matter that security has to be built in, and we should, especially as sort of ops focused people, we tend to we separate security, operations, development, marketing. Like we all have to think about all of the functions of the application or whatever product you build. So think about security all the way throughout. It's also just good training for you as a generalist. And then of course, launching. So you've got to have somebody that can be able to help you tell the story. So from the moment you begin building the product, you should have somebody making the PowerPoint. They've got 4 slides. Here's the story that we're going to tell. This is the problem we solve. This is why we do it. This is how we solve it. And then here's what we demo, right? So you've got somebody that can be parallel working on that at the same time that you're actually building, because then they can change so that you're not waiting 23 hours and then going, oh goodness, I need to present how we do this. So it's important to set that aside. And I look again through the work we've done through community events and through developing this product and this community, we have to do all these things and we have to lean on each other. So Angelo and Melissa and I have leaned on each other heavily. The judges who've continued to help us through the seasons, other folks who volunteered. It's incredibly helpful, even if they don't feel like they're doing that much. Every little bit does help.
Yeah. And just to quickly touch on the launch aspect, super important piece. You could build a great product and put it out there and then just sit back and do nothing and sort of build it and they will come. That doesn't necessarily happen that way. So it's really important on the launch piece to really get all your dots lined up and connected and really deliver a solid marketing plan.
And just like what we talked about, like certification doesn't have to be the goal if you entered VDM as a competitor, but certification is a good goal. Quite often we've heard about people changing jobs, getting, bonuses, getting new opportunities because they've pushed themselves into this new way of doing things. And so getting to closure, being able to present, being able to do those things, that's a nice, well-rounded skill set that will make you a good person to be on a team in general. And also gives you empathy to think about if somebody's going to be presenting this, how can I help them tell that story? And so even if you're not going to be the storyteller, then how do you give them the tools and the information that makes the story compelling? It's important all around. So tech choices. Every tech choice you make will be right, and it will be simultaneously wrong in some way, and that's fine. So choices are going to be a combination of your own preferences, right? I like Ruby on Rails, so I'm going to build a Ruby on Rails app. And, because I'm comfortable with the framework. It's a set of continuous trade-offs. If I do that, will I be able to find somebody else that knows Ruby or that knows Rails? Okay, maybe not. If you want to choose Python and Django, or I want to do things with Power CLI, will I find somebody else? And is this the long-term platform I want to choose? So getting your proof of concept up, getting your minimum viable product, getting that initial iteration up doesn't necessarily have to be, it may be PowerPoint with drawn pictures. What matters is that you're making the first pass, and then you should also think beyond, like, okay, maybe I want to, think bigger, but you don't want to start your product saying, I'm going to build a web application and then spend 12 hours doing some containerized workflow development to deploy to AWS with a scale. Like, that's not your goal. Your goal is to create a product, not to create infrastructure. And then proper again. So proper will be defined by these trade-offs. What meets the needs of your hackathon requirement? What gets your proof of concept alive? And then ultimately, what's the next stage, and what trade-offs will you make in the future if you continue along this project? Angelo, how many times have we changed products, even running these products, right? And each one was exactly right at the time we did it. And does that sound familiar?
Yeah. Wasn't it just yesterday I mentioned how often I change podcast apps?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I know this one too well, if you will.
And it's always tough. We always have to think about things in context. So do so. So these trade-offs also should be made collaboratively. When you're in this team, you have to think about, amongst your team of participants, who's got the skills and products that can already be borrowed and leveraged to do this, right? So if you got somebody that's a UI person, that they know JavaScript, all right, thank you. Please, can you do the front end for us? What would you need us to do to help you succeed? So those trade-offs begin to occur. Maybe you offload. Are you comfortable taking on that task, right? Those are the questions you have to ask. How much can be learned through mentoring and coaching during and after the event? Very, very distinct. During the event, compressed time frame. You may not be able to do a lot of coaching. You should. However, sometimes we got to move fast and break things, as the Silicon Valley kids would say. So you may need to extend and do some post-mortem stuff to say, okay, so this is how it went together, and review. So we'll set up actually follow-up events to fully discuss and represent what the hackathon outcomes were, because we don't want to just be like a 5-minute presentation, that's it. We really want to get people to revisit it a little later on. What are the needs of your MVP? And are they going to differ from the long-term platform? We talked about that, right? Is what I'm doing now going to be the long-term choice? It may be a drawing in a PowerPoint. It may be running on AWS, but in fact, I need to run it on premises. So I need to think about platform, those kind of questions. And then how can you reduce friction in getting your MVP built, right? So maybe it's using a service instead of building the service. Maybe it's using a product to draw stuff for you instead of, besting out Photoshop, something like that. And then most importantly, how can delegation and collaboration be balanced in this compressed time frame? Because just dumping it off amongst people is not going to give you success in a cohesive result. And at the same time, you can't all work together continuously, because you're going to have to spread out and attack things from different angles. So I know, again, if we think of event management is a great example, Angela, having created and run successful events, when you're on the ground doing it, the plans change, right? You have to be much more adaptive. What's it look like relative to the very planful approach leading up to that moment?
Yeah, there's always a plan B and plan C sometimes, if you will. And the secret is to never make them see you sweat.
Yeah, and this again, success in a hackathon, in our hackathon especially, is not going to be creating a fully functional product at the end. Success is getting further than you were at the start of the event. Hands down, that's it. I'm not gonna. No one should feel shamed that he did not make it all the way, because you made it farther than anybody else that didn't show up. Remember that. So 3 core focuses I want everybody to bring in. So these are, as a strong and successful team, you have to have strength of diversity. This is going to be diversity across every aspect we talked about, right? So especially hackathons and product development teams, you need to be able to have different skills, different backgrounds, different thoughts around how to approach it. Bring those together through the power of collaboration. It's a collaborative effort. They say there's no I in team. There is in the keep if you're French, so I can't go with that one. But what I can tell you is that we move faster together. It's like cycling. The reason why we go as a peloton in cycling is because we can move faster as a group, and then we let the individual success occur by pushing people out the front, giving them those opportunities. So we all shine individually and we all shine as a group. And radical transparency. I borrow this from a few folks that I think most famous for using this phrase is Ray Dalio. Wrote a book called Principles, which I suggest is mandatory reading for just about anybody. But most importantly, like, no secrets, no shame. We are going to do amazing things. We're going to get through difficult moments, and saying like, I don't think I can do this. I'm not comfortable. That's the best thing you can tell a team of people, not I got this. And then you take off for 4 hours and then you get nowhere because you're researching. So be open, right. Be transparent. Angelo, again, you know this well from, we have to admit where we need help. And
yeah,
what does transparency mean to you?
So admitting when you need help. I think the key there is just having the courage to do just that, just to approach a colleague, friend, or someone. Hey, I need some help with this. I thought I had it, but I'm either hitting a wall here, or I just don't see a path to getting it done. Can I get help? And once you overcome that, once you've done that once or twice and you overcome that, there is absolutely no shame in asking for help. That might not be the right word, but you should not feel discouraged or feel a lack of I don't have the skill set, etc. And like you mentioned, Eric, it's all about stretching beyond where you think you can go and seeing what you can get done. So it's all about imagination.
And especially if we look at, and I'll touch on a topic really quick. So IT burnout is probably one of the more common phrases we hear about lately. It's a true thing. And it's also something that we as a group can prevent and reduce, because the moment you ask for help is when you admit that you've got something that you can do to affect the situation. And quite often we unlock it in ourselves. I would say that, being able to take that responsibility to be able to admit that you need help is one of the first steps in everything in your life. And we talk about, especially as a group, as a team, it's seeking the right answer, not seeking being right. And that's what will help you to be a successful team. Now building, now the fun part, right? We've got this idea, we've got a group of people, let's do it, right? So bring all this stuff together. It's fun. We know that you're excited about this. You're watching this event because you want to see, how can I build something? I know if you don't think that we're all builders, I would encourage you to go to a family reunion or some event and then say, hey, we need to plug in this computer to the TV to watch the football game. And you'll watch 20 people crowd around going, is it the right way? Like, we all know we love being involved in the fixing and the building. So just unlock that in yourselves. Live life with imagination and love and explore that. It's such a blast. Mm-hmm. So we talked about, Hackathon 101. Remember, it's going to be different than everything else. You're going to be thinking in a compressed time frame. So plan smart, dream big, think bigger, but, think about what you're going to get done in the period of time you've got ahead. Always, again, think about why you're doing it, but look ahead to the future of where you can continue to grow and build trust amongst your team. That will help you to really nail down what you need to get done and get as far as you can in the period of time you've gotten. So we talked about the idea in the first episode, and here's one of the ideas that I close to my heart, because it was the idea that I had at a hackathon itself and succeeded in building this product. So building a web application to be able to do VM controls, because I wanted to give it for people that didn't need vCenter access. So it was a VMware environment. I didn't want them to use a VMware client. There was no need. They just want to turn on and turn off a machine and reserve it for a period of time. So sounds like a great opportunity to use the API, to use something, right? So I looked for a team of people that can help to put this together. I had a skill set that I knew I could build a web application. I knew that I knew how to generate Power CLI commands and to interact with Power CLI through the web application. So in doing so, I had a table of amazing people around me. People were building the presentation about why it's important. We were building the pitch. We were designing the UI. We had people that were D absent. So D actually, big shout out to D. If you're on this one, I hope so. Also the creator of this year's VMworld VFit shirt design. So D is a very, very cool. D was digging through, looking for Power CLI, looking for API stuff so that I didn't have to focus on that. I could focus on just pushing out code as fast as I could. And then he was able to then go and say, all right, here's the command you need. Here's the API call. And I couldn't have done it without D, without Joe, who was doing my presentation, without Al, who was there supporting the team and listening and watching and reminding us why we were there. So that team aspect was there. And it plays out in a lot of ways. And again, you know, Angelo, you've probably seen this play out before we go through what the different roles are. You know, give me an experience that you've had where you suddenly were dropped into a room with people you didn't know and you had to make a team happen.
Yeah. What comes to mind very quickly, Eric, and I don't know why, but when you mention that, is in high school, getting pulled into teams where you may not. In my case, I was at a new high school and I didn't know a lot of the folks, and I got pulled into to a team. I'm not sure why that just immediately popped into my head, but I recall getting into a team, getting to know each one very quickly in the group, and then sort of moving from there to get whatever we needed to get done. So yeah, that I'm not sure why that popped into my head right away.
Well, it's true, right? That's why we do those things at those levels, because even from elementary school, doing group work means that you don't get to choose. Like, obviously, if we let people naturally select, we will choose people who are very like-minded, and that's good. However, it doesn't give you the kind of 0 to 1 capability of amplification of skills, because we don't have diversity of representation. And that's why kind of forcibly mixing with people you're not familiar with helps you to search that out. And so I encourage people to do that. That's a great example. Absolutely.
And Eric, just to touch on just very quickly to touch on your previous slide about the hackathon idea you had and what you and the team created. I think it's important to let folks know it's not always about having a finished, polished product, is it, Eric? It's about just seeing what you can hack together, if you will, very quickly within a compressed time frame, so that people can actually get an idea of what your vision for a product is or was. And then beyond the hackathon is when you can begin to sort of refine and polish it. So, I don't want to leave. I suspect we're not leaving folks with the impression of creating a finished, polished product. So it's important just to go through the process, put the pieces together, enjoy the moment, and see where it will take you.
And given that we've got a bit of a longer time frame, like some of the event ones are usually like 4 to 6 hours, really tough to get a lot done in that time. So we've got more time, and we'll get some sort of empowered coaches as well to help us along the way.
Yeah.
So we have the design, so you have to be able to think, features and skills that we bring, someone that can take the idea and scope it out. What can we get done? What's going to be required to do it? What are the components that are going to be needed? Project planning. So now we know the design. How do you map it into timeframes? And how do we know who's doing what and map that out? So map out the team. Product management. So this is going to be where you're actually saying what's in, what's out, what's critical, what's not required, what's bonus, and what's an MVP look like. So you've got to kind of really, really tighten down your scope and think about success in different ways. Product marketing. So you've got the product itself. Now, how do you think about who's going to use it? How do you tell the story? How do you think about how you're going to get into someone's hands and excite them about using it? And why would it succeed? Testing. Well, If you develop and test your own product, you're only going to look for errors that you already knew were existing. So this is why we have to employ other testers, QA, automated testing as a bonus. But most importantly, just get somebody else to kick the tires on it and do something you may not have done because you built the idea. And then platform engineering. This is where architecture comes in handy. What do I need to stand up and operate this application environment? What's going to be, is it going to be on the cloud? Is it going to be in containers? Is it going to be on a laptop? It doesn't need to live anywhere except where you can show the POC on video in the end. That's it. But think about what would you glue together? What are the services needed? And kind of diagram that stuff out. That's architect thinking. That's systems thinking. So you can see, again, the diversity of skills and roles that are needed. And you will all learn a bit about each other by doing this. So, it's, again, Angelo, any thoughts on the different roles and your views on this?
Yeah. Just to let folks know, you may find that these are not individual roles all the time, depending on the number of people on your team. Some of you may double up on some of these roles, maybe even take on 3 roles, but I think that's a bit much. But you may find that you're going to double up on some of them. So important to keep that in mind and how you manage your time between those.
And again, when we look at like the testing, if you get testing and someone using this, say like, oh, you know what, it'd be nice if it did this. You thank them and you say out of scope, but mark it down. That's what we have to think is it's going to go beyond that event itself. So there's key questions you should always ask. These are ones that you could kind of print out and put at your own desk every day. So what are the things that strengths and skills that you have that you can bring? Stuff that if someone says, hey, can someone do this? Be ready to jump in where you can. Also know where your weaknesses and challenges are. And this is not an interview where someone says, tell me about your biggest weakness. Oh, it's because I have too many strengths. Right? No, this is not a fake question to try and trip you up. This is be open, be transparent about where like, I'm not good at organizing things, but I'm good at building things in a crunch. Okay, perfect. So when they look for project managers, don't raise your hand. And what skills would augment yours that would create a comprehensive complementary team? And this is now when you take those questions into these actions. So seek complementary team members, folks that that will be already have the skills that you're looking for. And ask people as they're approaching, hey, can I be on your team? Perfect. What can you do? What have you done before? So you know what to look for. Be ready to listen, learn, adjust. We call it the pivot. You may need to change products. You may need to change platforms. You may need to slow down, speed up. Be ready for it and use the team to help you do that. Because successful products are built by successful teams. There will be no successful product built by a team that does not work with cohesion. That's just a fact. So they may be tumultuous relationships in product teams, but they are relationships and they are successful just the same. Yep. Angelo, successful teams, you've been on some, you've probably been on ones that were challenged, right?
Yep.
What are the things to look for? And I'm putting you on the spot for this. Like, what are the reasons why teams have not worked in your experience?
Right. I think the number one reason is folks don't listen. I think there's an aspect where sometimes you can get into a team and where everyone believes they have the right answer to something. We all, I'm sure, believe that it's somewhere in the middle where you take a little bit of each, where you can come up with a right answer, or you cross off some of them. But I think it's people can have a tendency to not listen to others on the team. So I think that aspect of it is super important to be able to manage.
And so if you look around, again, these skills are not just skills you use in the hackathon, they will live beyond. So as you build your team, think about these ones. This is very hackathon specific. Who's going to handle product management? Somebody has to have what we call the ability to be ruthlessly pragmatic. We'll talk about that in the next show next Thursday. You'll get exposed to why this is critical and how easy it is if you think about it and you approach it the right way. So who has the builder skill? Who can actually build the product itself? And this is a tough one because sometimes we may not have a lot of development skills in the group. So change the product you're building. If you can't develop web applications, then don't try and build a web application. This product could be a simple command line script that would pull the API and give you information and output an Excel document. That's a product. That's a hackathon team. It's not always a web application that's going to be a business after. Who's going to create the presentation and do your marketing? So make sure that you designate somebody, look for somebody who's going to understand what value you're bringing, why you're doing it, and how to emote that to the community after the fact. And this is a strong one. How are you going to deal with conflict resolution? You will have this. You're not going to be coming to fisticuffs here, but we are going to be saying, I've got to make a critical decision. We're going to use this instead of this, right? We're going to use product X instead of product Y. And then you have a sharp disagreement amongst team members. You have to be able to say there's somebody who has either, whether it's by consensus vote, by a benevolent leader who has given the power to veto. But if you veto, you've got to own the veto. So know how you're going to deal with it. Jeff Bezos and the Amazon team, they call it disagree and move forward. Conflict resolution is not about designating someone as wrong. It's about designating what's the right decision for the team at the time. And a right decision doesn't mean every other decision was wrong. So strong differentiation there. And then who are your specialists? Who are your generalists? You're probably going to be staring at a sea of generalists, and this is great. But, if you do find somebody like, oh, I actually used to build databases. Okay, perfect. You're in charge of the back end, right? Look for those opportunities. And Angelo, I know conflict resolution is probably one of the more challenging things, especially when you've got to make decisions around this stuff. What's been successful for you in your experience?
Number one is don't take it personally. Whether an idea is not accepted or the folks decide to go a different way, don't take it personally. It's not about you. That idea or that thought might not fit at the moment for the team. So that's one thing, because if you get hung up, if you set that roadblock in front of, well, they didn't accept my idea, I'm not going to continue to help the team move forward. You're really not only impacting you, but you're impacting others on the team. And that will begin to bubble up, and you'll see the team start to slow down. Very difficult to move forward when things are taken personally like that.
And interestingly, there's a great book. It's called The Four Agreements. And one of the things, the tenets of one of these four agreements is don't take it personally. And that's actually in both directions. So if somebody chooses your decision as the right decision, that also doesn't mean that you're benevolently right. It means, so if somebody gives you praise, then don't live in it. Enjoy it, thank them for it, but put yourself back to level, because you're going to have to make another decision soon. You're going to be in a different situation where that praise may not occur. So the negative and the positive should be treated as also the same direction. It's an important thing. Again, when you come into this event, there's no heroes, there's no unicorns, there's no ninjas. There are people with, a set of skills that they hope to borrow and exploit and utilize as best as possible, and grow other skills they don't already have.
That was a good point, Eric, and that's often overlooked, the flip side of that. Yeah.
So when we think team, everything you do, you want to think of the collective, and you want to execute in the way that you can to affect the outcome of the team. Security is strong, right? So we as IT professionals should be understanding how does security affect everything we do and every product we build. It's just a good mindset to have. Be mindful of the outcome you're looking to desire, and also that you only get out what you put in. I say this often. no one will care about the product you build as much as you will. Like, that's a fact. So if you're the team lead, no one on that team will love it and want it to build as fast as you. But you can excite people to join you in that moment. And maybe you find somebody else who's a co-team lead because they may be equally excited. But you have the responsibility to drive towards that outcome. Be flexible. Angela said it. Listen. Because you may hear things that will tell you that maybe going down the wrong road. Maybe we need to change directions, try different products. Maybe this isn't right. All good decisions, but they come from listening to the group. Safety, right? So we talk about, if you read the Culture Code, which is a phenomenal book, the most successful teams and organizations are built by a strong sense of belonging. So being able to feel welcomed and that you can impact the outcome of that team. So if you get told no 7 times when you bring ideas to the team, that's not good, right? So as a team leader, as a team participant, always listen to, and look for opportunities to bring everybody through that design experience and that decision experience. And then ultimately we innovate together. So again, we move faster as a group, we innovate as a collective. Always, Virtual Design Master is a collective. The creators, the participants, the judges, the observers. We're a collective. We wouldn't be anywhere. If any single one of us dropped off, we would find somebody else to fill that gap because we're a collective. That's important.
Yeah.
All right. Now, before I start my shameless self-promotion, Angelo, any else to add? We're heading into VMworld. If you're watching live, this is great. Angelo, you're going to be attending VMworld, as will I. A lot of great folks from this community will be there. We'll have more about what we're going to do there. But let's talk about your thoughts on what we talked about today.
Yeah, really, one of the key things that stuck out for me is because there's such a compressed time frame, you really need to manage your time. And I know with a lot of voices on your team, you can get distracted. So I think it's really important to be able to make quick decisions, listen to folks, manage the project to an outcome, and manage the time. So I think those are some key things I think are important takeaways from today.
And one thing to add, it's a 24-hour hackathon for a reason. You may only need 4 hours or 6 hours. As a group, you may only work in one region. We specifically chose a 24-hour time frame, so it sucks for everybody. We know it's challenging because we have a European audience. We've got folks that are literally watching from, we had folks that are watching from Mozambique, from Brussels, from Luxembourg, from Vancouver, from Silicon Valley, people that are walking from South America. We have a global audience. The stats are incredible. Actually, I'm humbled by it. We'll share an infographic and talk about some of the people that are part of this community. It's amazing. So it's tough when we have time zone constraints. So for folks that are doing a 24-hour region, it's going to be hard no matter what. And so we'll all kind of pool together and we'll make it work. So with that one, I definitely want to say that there you go. Hi from Mozambique. Thank you, Manuel. This is awesome, right? This is the kind of stuff I'm amazed. I seriously, chapeau, hats off to everybody who makes this happen. So this year at VMworld, 2 years ago, big shout out to Cody Bunch, the one and only Cody Bunch. He created something called the Coffee Exchange. So we exchanged whole coffee beans, either 1 or 2 pounds, just brought them, traded them with people at the event. So I decided to take this one on because he couldn't be there the following year. And we actually exchanged 44 pounds of coffee was sitting in my Turbonomic booth where we were doing the exchange. So this year at VMworld, if you're coming to San Francisco at VMworld 2019, sign up, use the link here for this form. You can also go to my website, go to discoposse.com, or go to diabolicalcoffee.com. That is the product that's sponsoring us this year. So what you're going to do is you bring 1 or 2 pounds of coffee beans from wherever you are in the world, and I love that it's global. Just drop in the bucket, and then on Tuesday or Wednesday, you come back and you take what you gave. So you pick 2 pounds from somebody else. So you literally are going to take a piece of the world back home with you. It's an amazing thing. It's free, and you can also so part of what drives this program is great community support. And you can buy this wicked cool, I call it my devilishly good mug here. So the Diabolical Coffee mug, you can buy, it's $20, but you get the mug and you actually make Virtual Design Master happen. So the proceeds from this will go towards the prizes for the hackathon. So please do, support the team if you can. We would be very, very thankful. It's a blast. We do everything we can to try and make this a community-driven event. So it will be happening again. VMworld San Francisco. Sign up on the forum so I know you're coming, and then we'll make that happen.
Yeah, shout out to Val for the Brazilian coffee last year. Really enjoyed it.
Amazing. Yeah, exactly. All right, so we have 3 more things coming. We have next week, hackathon product management, how to be ruthlessly pragmatic. So notes from the field. Episode 4, getting ready. So are you going to be ready? So use the sign up links here. Make sure you pre-register for the webinars. It's helpful for communication. So if you're streaming live, no problem. Thank you for watching. However, if you do sign up through the webinar, it helps us to reach out, and you can go to virtualdesignmaster.io and sign up for the newsletter. And the hackathon event. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Angelo.
Yeah, sorry. Just very quickly on the newsletter, I encourage folks to sign up for the newsletter. You've heard through this session and last session how we kind of peppered in different books that we've read. There is a section on the newsletter where it's a sort of recommended reading, something either Eric or I or Melissa have read or someone else from the community that has a great has read a really good book recently. We put in and encourage other folks to check out. So pretty cool. So register for the newsletter.
Excellent. And then of course the big event itself. So August 9th and 10th. So it is 24 hours. Go to the URL there. So it's VDM S6 registration, sign up. You can be a watcher. They've got the different roles. If you choose to sponsor the event, you can also, if you're a sponsor, please go through there or reach out to me or Angelo directly. We're going to do some initial outreach. Again, this is different than the previous years. We want to really encourage that community growth, community sponsorship. So if you're willing to sponsor, we have a huge thanks. And ultimately, the prize money literally goes 100% to the competitors. This is not only is it not for profit, it is far from profit. We commit ourselves to make this event happen, and we're proud to do it. So please do join us in that. We've had a lot of event. There's a lot of information. Hopefully it's helpful. If you like what you're seeing, please do hit that like button down below, right? Make sure you subscribe to the channel. You can see much more because this event is the start of a long-term education series. We'll do more and more things like this. Please do subscribe. Make sure you let folks know, share out the links, share out the social. You are what makes this event happen. Angelo, any thoughts on the team before you go? And you're the reason why we have this team. Your inspiration brought me to this community, and I'm glad that we can share this event together.
Yeah, I'm so happy. So this has been an awesome experience when we started VDM, just to see where we are today. This is incredible. Really excited. I really want folks to really immerse themselves in the hackathon. I think that's the only way they'll get the most out of it. And again, that does mean if you want to be an observer, but get involved somehow, some way. It's really important. And then we'll meet up at different shows and events and meet in person and have a great time. So kudos to everyone watching, everyone involved. Kudos to Eric and Melissa. I'm really excited to see the outcome.
And if you're looking for, speaking of books, of course, I do always recommend if you go to itarchitectjourney.com, Melissa had written up a great book. Talks about the journey to being an IT architect, sort of her path to BCDX. So please do go there, pick up the book. We're always super pleased to see how folks have really given great feedback on it. And it's very, very helpful for them as they think about moving to this kind of next level in their career. So with that, we're going to close up today. Big thanks to everybody for being a part of it. Shout out to the team in Mozambique and to all around the world. Thank you very much for watching, for being a part of this. And we will see you on episode 3, Hackathon Product Management. See you all next week.